Hey guys, it's Neil again from Heart of Texas Armory, and today I wanted to do a video review of this really nice dive watch from Neymar you see in front of you. And what this is called, this is the Neymar 40mm 1000 meter Quartz Dive Watch. Now, Neymar is probably best known for their 44mm case size dive watch. That's been out for quite a while now, and I've been aware of it, but never really appealed to me because of that size. So this being a smaller 40mm case size, that's the appeal to me with this one, and that's why I had to get one of these. In this particular model, actually, I became aware of it by watching the Just One More Watch channel. So you should definitely subscribe to his channel if you haven't yet. Jody does some awesome reviews. One, he's got really good humor. They're always informative, and he just does a very good job. So I watched his video review of this particular watch, and I was just kind of blown away by it. You know, for the features you get and the price point here, it's just very impressive. So I had to get one for you guys. That way I could do a video review as well. So let's go ahead and move this watch over so we can take a look at the specs here. All right, so case size here, we're looking at a 40mm case size, which to me, that is just about the perfect case diameter there. I've got about a 7-inch wrist, just under 7-inch, and anything from 39 up to 41, 42 is pretty good for me, but 40mm and 41 are my sweet spot, so that is a huge point for me. I definitely love that this watch is 40mm. Your lug width here for your straps, bracelets, and bands is 20mm, so another common size there. You'll have a bunch of choices if you decided to change out the strap here. Your lug to lug being from that point there up to the top of that lug, you're looking at 47.5mm according to my measurement, which that's not too bad. I definitely don't like watches to have a lug to lug dimension here of over 50mm, so being 47.5, call it 48, that's a positive in my book. Case thickness here, you're looking at 15mm, so fairly chunky and thick here. But again, this is a 1000 meter dive watch, so that's to be expected. Now your weight, you're looking at 164 grams on this steel bracelet, which is fairly nice, and that equals 5.8 ounces. So it definitely feels nice on the wrist. It feels like a quality watch. It has some weight to it here, guys. Now, your movement here, you can already tell, we've already mentioned it, is a quartz movement, and it is a Swiss quartz movement, which is nice. That's going to be very reliable timekeeping, of course, very durable. This is a tool and a dive watch here, so I like that it's quartz. Now, it does also have 1,000 meter dive, or excuse me, 1,000 meter water resistance here. And you'll notice here at the 9 o'clock position, it does have a helium escape valve, which if you're going to have a 1,000 meter dive watch, you've got to have one of those. That is for your saturation diving, so basically your crystal doesn't pop off. The battery life on this is also really nice. Now, I don't know what battery this actually takes, but from Neymar, they're claiming that this is a 10-year battery life, which is very, very impressive. So you probably won't have to change the battery out very often on this watch. So once every decade, that's a nice time period there to change out a battery. So, all right, guys. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and zoom out a little bit, put it on the wrist, and we'll talk about it in a little more detail and close out with positives and negatives. I'll be right back. All right, guys. I'm back here with the Neymar 1000 meter dive watch here on my wrist. So it looks really nice on my wrist here. You can see how it fits from the side profile. So it is kind of a chunky watch, but it actually wears pretty flat because the lugs sweep down at a nice angle here. So it actually looks really nice on my 7-inch wrist. So there's a look at it on my wrist. So let's go ahead and talk about the case here in just a little more detail, guys. So what we have here, of course, is a dive watch. So it's made out of 316 stainless steel, which is to be expected. That's pretty much the industry standard. Now, the case here, let's go ahead and flip it over and take a look at the case back. So you got a nice engraved case back there. Notice that the case back has the Rolex style of teeth here. So keep that in mind. If you did have to change out the battery, you're probably going to have to purchase a different type of case back opener that you might not have. They did, of course, laser engrave their Neymar across the back. Looks fairly plain, but it doesn't look bad. Also on the bracelet here, you'll see it is also signed Neymar right there, laser etched. So continuing on the case here, we've got a nice polished finish here all the way around. And we've got a nicely signed crown with the N for Neymar. So it looks pretty nice. So next up, let's take a look at the dial. That's one of the most beautiful things about this watch, in my opinion, is that beautiful blue, deep blue sunburst dial. Looks really nice. You can see it playing with the light there. I really like that. Now, the overall design is pretty similar to a Rolex Submariner. So, you could probably call this a Rolex Submariner homage watch, but to me, it has enough unique features that I think it kind of is a little different from that. But definitely the dial is similar with the indices here, and the hands are very similar to a Rolex Submariner. You notice it does have a date wheel here. Now, the movement is a Swiss Quartz movement, so you're going to have very reliable timekeeping, very durable. It's not going to be affected by any magnetism, or you don't have to worry about winding it. And the battery life is really good. Neymar claims 10 years of battery life with this particular watch, which is excellent. Your crystal is another awesome feature of this watch. This is a sapphire crystal, and even better, in my opinion, it is domed. So as I rotate this around, you can see that beautiful distortion. Look at that. That is just so cool to me. I love domed sapphire. It just has a very vintage look, and it just adds a little more character to the watch. I like that distortion look. It just looks cool. So I really like the sapphire crystal that they put on here. It's very high quality. I've heard that it's up to 4 or 5 millimeters thick. So again, that is because this is a 1,000-meter dive watch. They have an extra thick sapphire crystal, so I don't think you'll ever break this sapphire crystal here. That's really nice on this watch. Your bezel is also impressive. So you've actually got a ceramic bezel here, and the ceramic insert, and it's also lumed, which is nice. So that's a nice feature to get in this price point. Again, call it $179 for this watch. Getting a ceramic bezel insert, that's a huge bonus. Most of the time you're going to get, of course, like an aluminum bezel insert. So the ceramic is going to give you better scratch resistance. That's always positive. Now the action on it is also very nice. It has very nice clicks here. No back play at all. Feels really good. Works nice. It's precise, it's mechanical. I have really no complaints with how this works, and everything, of course, lines up just perfectly, which is always a positive. Actually, I got to click it one more time. There we go. There, now it's all lined up. So the bezel action and the bezel insert are very nice on this particular Neymar. Your lume, I mentioned you had the lumed ceramic bezel insert here, but all your lume on this watch is really nice. So you should be seeing the lume shop pop up right now. This watch sports the Super Lume Nova BGW9, which that is one of the best on the market. That's why you're seeing that beautiful ice blue color. I really like the BGW9. I think it's a very high performance lume. It's going to let you have lume that's going to last throughout the night. So even if you charge this thing up at night and wake up 5, 6, 7 hours later, you're still going to be able to read your watch very easily. The lume is exceptional. It's one of the best. Out of all the watches I have, this is definitely in the top 2 or 3 in regards to lume performance. So it's very well done. Now your bracelet here, you can see it's on a stainless steel bracelet that has a milled clasp. It's all solid. You can see how it works there with the little latch to release. It works nice. All your end links are solid. All your links are also solid. They're pushed in with pins. So you do have adjustments. You just have to push them out. They are a little tight, but it's well done. You do also have micro adjustments here, where you can have 4 different slots where you can adjust for micro adjustments. That's also a nice bonus. So Overall, guys, this is an excellent watch. So let's go ahead and talk real quick about the positives and the negatives, and we'll wrap this video up here. So your positives, I just talked about the bracelet. I'll just have to mention that again. It's a high quality bracelet. I mean, I normally like wearing my watches on, NATO straps or mesh straps, but I've been wearing it on this bracelet and I really like it. It's well done. It's very comfortable. It fits the watch nicely, and it has a nice contour here with the lugs. Just well done on the bracelet. So that's definitely a positive. Another huge positive is that dome sapphire. To me, that is one of my favorite features of this watch. I mean, like I mentioned before, that beautiful distortion you get right there, it just looks really nice. That's a huge win. The overall construction and feel of it is very high quality. For the price point of $180, I think it feels like a watch that costs 2 to 3 times more than that. The bezel action is also really nice. You saw that earlier, but the clicks are precise. It's 120 click unidirectional bezel, and it just feels good to use. Everything lines up, so no negative points there. The case size being 40 millimeter, I feel that's also a positive. So that's, again, I've mentioned that's probably my favorite case size, either 40 or 41, so that's a huge positive in my book. The 1,000-meter water resistance, that's another nice thing to have. You're never really going to get water inside this watch. You could actually go scuba diving with this if you wanted. I have no doubts that it would hold up. So that's nice. And then the Lume is also very impressive. Having that BGW9 Lume, it just performs really nice, guys. And they put a decent number of layers on there, so it definitely lasts throughout the night. So overall, the positives there, it's pretty impressive, guys. Now, there's not a lot of negatives with this one, in my opinion, but there are a few. What I'll mention is, one, it's a little heavy. That's really not a true negative because this is a 1,000-meter dive watch, but I'll just mention that. 164 grams. It's a little heavy. It's not the heaviest watch that I've owned, but it definitely, you can feel it on the wrist. Speaking of that, the thickness is also a negative. Being 15 millimeters thick, I think it's just a little thick. I really wish it was, if it was 13 or 14 millimeters, it would just bore just a little better. Not a huge negative, of course, but I did want to mention that. Now, the bezel action is excellent. I've already mentioned that, but the only thing I will say is if you look at the case and the bezel, it's pretty much flush right here. So you don't have any bezel overhang. So when you don't have bezel overhang, you just don't have as much material to grab onto, and it makes it a little slicker than it could be. I do wish it just had just a slight bit of overhang, that way it'd be easier to actually rotate it. Again, it's not bad, but I will mention that. And then the last thing, which is probably the biggest negative in my book, is just the branding and the name. The name Neymar, I don't think that's the best name for a watch. I mean, you're already confusing people with the Brazilian soccer player, so I don't know why they decided to go with Neymar, but that to me is probably the biggest negative. I'm not bashing them for their choice of name. It's really not that big of a deal, but I do think, branding wise, I think they could have done a little better. Another thing I'll mention too, I don't really care for, you see that helium escape valve there on the chapter ring there, and then on this side it has 547 fathoms, if you can read that right there. That's kind of copying or pulling a lot of design cues from the Deep Sea, the Rolex Deep Sea, and I don't think they needed that. It doesn't look bad. I don't care one way or the other really too much, but it just, to me, I wish they wouldn't have done that. So, the overall branding is probably the biggest negative with this watch. But other than those things, this is definitely a home run. If you've never heard of this brand or even seen them, I highly recommend this brand, particularly this watch being at 40 millimeters. I think it's going to appeal to a lot of you guys. Anybody that wants a tool watch, a true dive watch, something that's very durable, you don't have to worry about adjusting the time very often, this is what this watch is for. So overall, highly recommended for me, Neil at Heart of Texas Armory. So if you got any questions or comments on this watch, leave them down below. I'll do my best to answer. Y'all guys take care. I'll catch you on the next one.